everybody, it's Angie, and welcome to Hot and Flashy. Thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to tell you about my experiences with Botox. So whenever I post a video and mention that I get Botox, I get a lot of viewer questions about the procedure. Because while people are curious about it and are thinking of getting it, they're also afraid of the results. So I thought today I would just show you my results and tell you what I know about Botox. So let's get started. So what is Botox? Botox is a botulism toxin that doctors use to inject into the muscles of the face and other parts of the body to help with wrinkle reduction and other medically necessary procedures. So for example, Botox is really effective in curing migraines. So people get it injected in their forehead for their migraines. They also get it injected in their armpits to help with overly productive sweat glands, and it also works well on your palms. And there are some other things that people get it for, but I'm sure that the way it became known as a wrinkle reducer was when they were putting it in people's foreheads for migraines, and then they noticed that their skin was smoothing out. So the way it works is doctors inject it into the muscles of the face, and it causes the muscles to stop contracting. It actually causes paralysis, temporary paralysis of the muscles. So once the muscles can't contract anymore, they can't push the skin or pull the skin into a wrinkle. And that's what deep wrinkles are caused by. It's caused by repetitive motions of the skin. Now, I have my 11s done because I'm a scowler. And I have been my entire life. It's just the way my face works. Some people's faces work differently. They don't scowl. They raise their eyebrows a lot, or they squint a lot, or they get the little wrinkle up here in their nose. It's all just, luck of the draw of what your genetics are and how your muscles move. So the way my muscles like to move is when I go out in the sun or I'm angry, my muscles pull together right here, which I would like to demonstrate for you, but since I have Botox in there, they can't. So here I am trying really hard to pull them together. And as you can see, I can't, so they can't cause that wrinkle. So the 11s that I refer to are the two vertical wrinkles that are caused specifically by scowling. So the way it works is the doctor injects the Botox right into that muscle and it paralyzes it. So now it can't move and it can't scowl. Now, I know some people who also have the 11s who get them fixed with filler rather than Botox. And so I just wanted to talk for a second about what the difference is between Botox and filler and if it can be just as effective on the same kinds of wrinkles. And basically the differences are that, like I said, Botox is a toxin and it paralyzes the muscle. Filler is what it says. It's a filler. It's injected between the skin and the muscles, and it's more like putting water into a balloon where it smooths the skin by filling what's underneath. So it's more about adding volume where you've had loss of volume, but I was surprised that they did use it for the 11s. My mother had it done and it was quite effective. And the main difference is that, the cost and the amount of time it lasts. Now, Botox generally wears off sooner. It can last only 3 to 6 months, whereas a filler can last 1 to 2 years. So, and then of course the prices are different because the filler lasts longer, it costs more. Botox doesn't last as long, so it costs a bit less, even though it still is not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that you should talk to your doctor if you're going in to have your 11s looked at and ask which they prefer to fix them up with, whether it's Botox or fillers, and what the pros and cons are, and make your decision based on that, because my mom has had it done both ways, and I think that both look pretty good on her. I think the Botox for me, it worked a little bit better looking at her, because the filler, while it fills the wrinkle, you can still move that muscle. And so the Botox, I feel like, is not only puffing out the wrinkle that I had, it's also preventing it from getting any worse. I feel like with the filler, if you're still squeezing that muscle together, even though you've puffed out the wrinkle, you're still helping to make the wrinkle deeper. And that's just my opinion. I don't know if that's the case. So like I said, consult with your doctor on that one. All right, so what wrinkles is Botox effective in smoothing? So as you know, I've already said, it works on the 11s. It's also very effective in working on the horizontal wrinkles that you get on your forehead from raising your forehead up. and raising your eyebrows. It's also very effective on crow's feet, which are the wrinkles that form when you smile around the corners of your eyes. Now, unfortunately, it is not effective on the under eye wrinkles. I actually, when I went in this past time 2 weeks ago to have my consultation about it, what I really wanted to have done aside from my 11s was under my eyes. And what my dermatologist said is that sadly it doesn't really work there, because in order to paralyze the muscles that make those eye wrinkles, you'd have to paralyze the whole bottom of your face, because when you smile, it pushes all up from here and pulls from here, and it's really, these wrinkles under here are caused from the pushing up of your face. So you can't paralyze your whole face, you wouldn't be able to talk, you wouldn't have, the smile wouldn't go to your eyes, and you want to have it done so that you look a little bit fresher, but you don't want to look completely paralyzed. So, it's a little give and take in that way. But I was so sad when I left her office. I was practically crying that there was no solution for these under eye wrinkles. But, I am happy that it does work on some things, and it does work on some things really, really well. All right, so now let's talk money. How much does Botox cost? Well, it is not cheap. Botox is usually either sold by the area or by the unit. So if you buy it by the area, the glabella is considered one area, so that's the 11s. The forehead is another area, and the crow's feet is yet another area. And anything else that you want to have done would be a separate area. I know some people have had it done in the neck for neck wrinkles, which there have been some problems with, it migrating and bad results. But anyway, I like to keep it from the nose up. Just for safety's sake. But so back to the cost. So if you are buying it by the area, the average cost is $450 per area. But usually if you get a couple of areas done together, they'll knock off $100 or something. So if you're buying it by the unit, it usually costs about $20 a unit. And it usually takes between 20 and 30 units to effectively paralyze any one area. So it ends up coming out to be about the same. The general cost is about $450 per area. Now, that gets into a whole budget discussion. How much money do you have to pump into your face every year? And this is what I wrestle with Botox. And that's a personal decision based on your budget and your finances. I don't have all the money in the world to pump into my face every year. So I definitely want to keep this on a budget. I don't want to go crazy, and I want to get it as cost effectively as I can, but still, getting a quality product from a quality provider. So here's what you have to figure. You have to get your Botox done between 2 and 4 times a year. And so if you're getting one area done and it's costing you $450 a time, you could be spending from $900 a year all the way up to $1,800 a year. But if you're getting 2 areas done, then you could be doubling that. In my experience, over the 5 years that I've been getting Botox, is that it can last anywhere from 10 weeks, which is super short, all the way up to 6 months. So that's why I say you need to get it between 2 and 4 times a year. But that makes a huge difference in your budget. If you're getting it 4 times versus 2 times, that doubles your cost. What I like to do is I like to buy the least expensive topical anti-aging products that I can find that are still effective, so that if I can save $400 a year on creams and I'm getting pretty much the same thing, I could put that $400 into my Botox, because Botox is the big guns, as I always call them. And the reason it's the big guns is because it works. The topical stuff, it takes a long time to see the results. You may or may not get the results. It may be too harsh, too irritating. This is practically instantaneous. Within 2 weeks, you see the results, your wrinkles are gone, and it's pretty much fantastic. I'm a walking, talking billboard for Botox. All right, so now we're starting to get into some of the pros and cons of Botox. So the pro, like I just said, is that it works, and it works quickly. And so, within 2 weeks, you look younger, you look fresher, you look less angry, you look less worried if you're a, forehead raiser. Now the cons, there are many. The cost is one. The pain is another one. Some people have a very low threshold for pain and it just hurts too much. I don't find it to be that bad. It's generally between 6 and 15 needle pricks. I don't need any anesthesia or icing. I just go in, get it done. You know, my eyes sometimes water a little bit, but it's not bad. It's over in a couple minutes. There is a possibility of bruising at the site of the injection, potential changes to your look and changes in your face, which can be minimal if it's done right or can be significant. Some people end up with the shocked look and the raised eyebrows. I've seen that. That is not a good look. And some people, if the Botox, you know, there's a possibility that it could migrate out of the muscle that the doctor put it in into another part of your face, in which case people tend to get a little drooping on one side, so, you know, a little sagging of one eye. And it's uneven, it's not attractive, but I guess the good news is that it wears off in 3 months. It's also kind of the bad news, and one of the cons is that it wears off in 3 months. All right, so let me tell you about my personal experience with Botox. I'm 50 years old now, and I've been getting it for about 5 years. So I started when I was 45. Now, my 11 started showing up when I was probably about 41, 42. But it took, you know, that long for me to wrap my mind around going to get Botox and, you know, finally pulling the trigger and going to do it. It was mainly because I met someone who was having it done. She looked terrific, and she recommended her plastic surgeon's office. So, I've been to about 5 different doctors over the course of the 5 years, which is unfortunate. It's not like I've been to a different doctor every year. I have seen 2 plastic surgeons, and then I've seen 3 other doctors who have an MD after their name, but specialized in something else and have switched into doing injectables and laser treatments and things like that for anti-aging. Now, I prefer to go to someone who has an MD after their name, is a doctor, because after all, they are injecting a toxin into your face and there can be bad results. So I feel like someone who knows, you know, how the muscles work, how they pull against each other, is going to be better than, you know, somebody who doesn't have that qualification. I would never go to a Botox party, and I would never go to a spa to get an injectable treatment. That's just me. You're obviously free to do what you want. My experience with the plastic surgeons was that they can be a little aggressive with it. One of my experiences that I went to one guy who I said, you know, I just want my 11s done. And so he did the 11s. Before I knew it, he was also shooting up the rest of my forehead. I didn't ask him to do it, but when I got out to reception, don't you know, the bill was twice as much. My forehead wrinkles didn't bother me. Well, they bothered him, so he decided to do something about it, which I didn't like. So that was the end of that guy. So the 5 doctors I've been to get my Botox, they each shoot it very differently. So some will do as little as 3 injections. I had one where it was like 1, 2, 3, a big one right there. And then I've had other ones where it's like 7 to 10, and how they find 7 to 10 places to put in the needle around here, I don't know. But they each have their own different technique. And some people have a little map of your face that they mark it out so they can remember next time what they did. I kind of like that. Once I get a result that I like them to do it the same every time. Because it does kind of puff up your skin in the area where they've done it. And so, you know, that can change the look of your face. Like if this is overly puffy, you get a little bit of a Neanderthal overhang there, which I don't really like. That's why it's a lot of trial and error, and I've been to, you know, quite a few people. Now, it's not that I hated everyone. I actually had 2 people that I really enjoyed that I used for most of the 5 years. Like one of them I went to for 3 years, and one of them I went to for a year. And the other 3 were like, I went once and never went back. The person that I went to for 3 years, she was my holy grail of Botox administrators. She was fantastic. She was the least expensive. She charged me $375, and she did not only just my 11s, but she also spread a little bit of it up here into the center of my forehead, which I really liked. So I still had movement of the outsides of my eyebrows, so I could raise my forehead over here, but it didn't cause wrinkles in the middle. And my 11s were done perfectly. I didn't have the Neanderthal thing going on or anything like that. So she was fantastic. Unfortunately, she moved away, and, you know, I cried for a week over that. But I've been on the hunt for somebody different ever since. So fast forward to today. I went 2 weeks ago to see my new dermatologist because last time I was there, I asked her about, if they could do my Botox and have it work out better than the person I have been seeing lately, who does a very nice job. I have to say the look is terrific, and she does it pretty much like my Holy Grail lady, mostly here and a little bit up here. It's a little bit more expensive. She was charging me $450 for that. The only problem was this is the one where it wore off in 10 weeks. So if I have to go get it done 5 times a year, my cost is already up around $1,800 anyway for the year. So I know that my dermatologist's office is going to be on the more expensive side. There they charge $450 per area. In talking to her, we had decided to do my whole forehead. So it was going to be $900. Of course, they knock off the 100 because you're doing the 2 areas, so it was $800. And so that's what she did. She did, let's say, 6 little pokes over here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then she did a couple out here above the eyebrows. And then in order to have me not have the crazy startled look, you also have to do it up here. So she did a bunch, maybe another 3 up here. I know there was 1 here because she hit the vein and I had the bruise. And I know there was 1 here. But for $800, I want this to be perfect. And overall, it's been 2 weeks. It's settled in nicely. I am very happy with the results. And so I just wanted to show you, I shot a little bit of video of me the morning before I went so that I could show you the movement I had in my forehead before that. So let me just bring in that video. And as you can see, I have the ability to scowl a little bit, and when I do, you can see that little line from the 11. Now this is where my Botox is about 85% worn off. So there's still a little paralysis there. I can't move it completely. But here you can see where I raise my eyebrows, I do get quite a bit of wrinkling across the forehead. Okay, so let me show you the amount of motion I have now. If I try to scowl, that's all I can get in there. I can't pull these together. And if I try to raise my forehead, raise my eyebrows, that's as far as I can go. So really very little movement. Now, if this would last for 5 to 6 months, I will be a super happy camper because I think she did a really nice job. Obviously, as you can see, I did not have my crow's feet done, and you still need to be able to smile and move part of your face. So while my whole from my eyebrows up is frozen, I think I have enough expression going on in the rest that people aren't going to be like, oh my God, she has that frozen look. So if you're on the fence about whether or not to get Botox, I hope that this video has been helpful in enabling you to make an informed decision. With all anti-aging procedures, my advice is to go into it slowly. I'd never want to go in and change my whole face in one day and do something super permanent to everything because you don't know how it's going to look and you don't know how it's going to affect your look. The nice thing about Botox is that it does wear off in a few months. So if you go in and just have one small area done to start, then you can assess how you react to it, if it was worth the money, if it really gave you the look that you wanted, or if it did something weird to your face, which can happen. And then if you like it, you go back and have it done again. And of course, that's the problem, is that most people do like it, and most people do want to have it done again, and then they want to have more done. And so that's my biggest problem with Botox, is that I love it so much, and it's costing me a fortune, but I think it's worth it. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.